So looking forward once again to New Year's Day, because we were talking about Assassin's Creed, which opens on New Year's Day, which is November the 1st. So also looking ahead to New Year's Day, we have A Monster Calls, which is the new film by J.A. Bayona, who made The Orphanage, which I really loved, and The Impossible, because you interviewed somebody about The Impossible, didn't you? The tsunami drama. I thought you'd done an interview for it, but I may be wrong.
I almost certainly did.
Anyway, so this is a fairy tale in the best possible sense. It's adapted by...
It was Ewan McGregor.
Fine. Well done, well remembered. Adapted by Patrick Ness from his book, which was adapted from an original idea by Siobhan Dowd. And one of the things that everyone always says about fairy tales is fairy tales at their best are fantastical stories that help us deal with things that are completely real and down to earth. And they're particularly important at certain times of your life. When you're young, they have I always used to love fantasy and fairy tales. Guillermo del Toro says that his entire worldview was formed by believing in monsters, by believing in fabulous creatures. And of course, Bayona's first film, Orphanage, Guillermo del Toro was very much a leading light on it. And what The Orphanage did was, it used genre filmmaking in a way that was absolutely rooted in tangible, real-life emotions, but it was, using a sort of fantastical narrative. And that's what this does as well. So the story is about a troubled adolescent called Connor, who is worried about a number of things. He's worried about the fact that his mother is ill, and he's terrified about how her illness is going to work out. His father has gone across the Atlantic, and he is scared of separation and isolation. He's considered weird at school, and he is rightly frightened about being bullied. He is isolated, he is angry, he is convinced that he's going to end up living with his grandmother, which he doesn't want to do. And suddenly he is visited by a walking tree, a tree monster played by Liam Neeson. And at first this seems like just like some weird, fabulous hallucination. But what happens is the tree says, I'm going to tell you a series of stories, and then at the end of the stories, you are going to tell me the story of your truth. So it sets itself up with this fable-like setup of storytelling, which of course is very, very much a part of stories within stories of fairy tales. And then we see stories both through animation and through hearing the stories narrated, and gradually the distinction between reality and fantasy, between hard and fast, concrete, earthbound reality and imaginative fantasy starts to blur. Here's a clip.
Tell me, Connor O'Malley, what shall I destroy next?
What?
It is most satisfying, I can assure you. Come on, tell me. What should I destroy?
Snap the chimney?
The chimney. Next.
Throw away their beds. Smash the furniture! Break the windows!
Windows. Break them yourself. Come on. Harder, Connor O'Malley, come on, harder. That's it, that's it. Yes. Feels good, doesn't it? Yes.
Now, you get a sense from that of the sort of the fantastical nature of it, and the fact that those sequences are, full-blooded and very, very well realised. But also, what makes it work in the way it does is that it is, as I said before, completely grounded in reality. And the very best sort of fairy tales are used to address problems and to suggest ways of moving through them, and of healing, and perhaps moving on beyond things which we're frightened of facing. And the whole film is really about facing your fears. And I thought it was really rather fabulous. I think Bayona has a terrific sense of that magical realism, of making something which is completely fabulous, but also seems very tangible and very real. The way in which the animated sequences intersperse with the live action sequences is beautifully done. There are some great performances, not least by Felicity Jones as the mum. I mean, it's funny because I saw this in the same week that we saw Star Wars. So there is she in one moment, and at the end of the interview that you did with Rogue One, with Felicity Jones of Rogue One, you said at the end, and there's no time to talk about Monster Calls, which is a shame because I would have loved to have heard her talking about it. Obviously, there was so much to talk about with Star Wars. But, I mean, there is somebody who is at the top of their game, being in these two very, very different movies, but both of which achieve what they set out to achieve in really sort of winning fashion. And the other thing I should say is that this is not just me. I've spoken to a number of people who have the same thing, that if you can get through a Monster Calls without floods of tears, then you're a tougher person than I am. I thought it had the grit and the heft of the impossible. I thought it had the imagination and the intelligence of The Orphanage. I thought it was a really nimble and supple adaptation of a literary source that is put on screen in a way which makes complete sense. And it had heart. I mean, it had real, proper heart. And it was very, very moving and very, very magical and very touching. And take tissues because you are going to cry.